I know the script you've been handed your whole life. Stop being so sensitive. Man up. Don't take it personally. Why do you always overthink? Why do you feel everything? And if you're a man, that script usually comes with an extra layer of shame because you were trained to believe that emotional range is a liability, that the right response to intensity is to shut it down, swallow it, and keep moving. So you learned to apologize for your reactions. You learned to hide your tears. You learned to laugh when something hurt. You learned to act unfazed while your body stayed on high alert. But here's the truth. The diagnosis most people gave you was lazy. You're not broken. You're not weak. You're not a mistake that needs correction. You are what psychology often describes as a highly sensitive person. But I'm going to use a term that lands harder for men who are tired of being labeled like a problem. You are a super sensor. While most people experience life at a normal bandwidth, your system receives more data, more nuance, and more emotional signal faster, deeper, and longer. And today I'm going to show you why that isn't a defect. It's a high performance awareness system that comes with responsibilities, boundaries, and training, just like strength does. Because the real issue isn't your sensitivity. The issue is that nobody taught you how to drive it. The first truth you need to accept sensitivity is not just a mindset. It's not simply being emotional. It's not a moral flaw or a character weakness. For many people, it's a nervous system pattern, a way your brain and body process the world. And if you've spent your life feeling like you're taking in too much noise, too much tension, too much emotion from the room, there's a reason. Some brains process less to stay efficient. Some brains process more to stay informed. Most people are built for speed. You're built for signal. Think of it like cameras. Some cameras are designed for convenience, good enough image, low storage, fast processing. Your system is closer to a high resolution rig, sharper input, more detail, heavier load. That sharper input can feel like a blessing in the right environment and like torture in the wrong one. That's why you can be calm in silence and overwhelmed in a crowded room. That's why you can sense when someone's smile isn't real. That's why you can walk into a place and feel the mood before a word is spoken. People call it overthinking, but a lot of what you're doing isn't thinking, it's processing. And processing is expensive. The hardware differences behind too sensitive. Now, I'm not here to pretend you're a superhero from a comic book. You're a human being with a nervous system that may be tuned differently. Let's break down what that can look like in real terms. 1. You don't filter as aggressively as others. Many people can ignore a huge percentage of incoming stimuli without even realizing they're ignoring it. They can tune out the hum of appliances. They can tune out the subtle tension in a conversation. They can tune out the slight shift in someone's tone. You, on the other hand, notice, not because you're trying to, because your system flags more information as relevant. That means you might pick up small changes in voice and facial expression, subtle shifts in mood and body language, environmental details. Others don't register patterns that become obvious to you and invisible to them. This is why life can feel intense, because you're living in a world full of constant input, and you're not automatically dismissing most of it. The downside is overload. The upside is insight. A man who notices patterns early is harder to deceive. A man who senses shifts early can adjust before damage happens. A man who reads rooms accurately is often the one who makes the right move while everyone else is guessing. When your system is regulated, this trait becomes an advantage. When your system is exhausted, this trait becomes anxiety. The same sensitivity, different state. 2. Your empathy system runs hot. Some people can recognize another person's emotional state intellectually. They understand it, but it stays outside them. You may experience something different. When someone near you is stressed, ashamed, angry, or sad, your body responds, not always as sympathy, sometimes as tension, restlessness, heaviness, or fatigue. And if you've ever wondered why being around certain people drains you, even if nobody said anything directly, that's often why. You're not too emotional. You're resonant. You pick up what's present, even when it's unspoken. That's why you can be the calm anchor for people in crisis. That's why friends open up to you out of nowhere. That's why you can read between the lines. But it also means you need something most men never learn to build: emotional boundaries, not walls. Boundaries. Walls are fear. Boundaries are intelligence. 3. You process meaning deeper than most. This is the part that gets mislabeled as slow, indecisive, or in your head. You might replay conversations. You might analyze tone, intention, subtext. You might see implications other people don't see. A lot of men hate this about themselves because they think it means weakness. But look at it from another angle. Some people react quickly. You simulate consequences. Some people hear words. You hear meaning. Some people move fast. You move carefully. That depth of processing is why you can be exceptional at strategy, creative, problem solving, understanding people, spotting flaws before they explode, building systems that actually work long term. The pause in you isn't hesitation because you're incompetent. It's your mind running an internal model. That's not fragility, that's computation. But like any high level computation, it needs recovery time or it overheats. If sensitivity was a weakness, evolution would have erased it. Here's a question you need to ask. If this trait was purely harmful, if it only made people dysfunctional, why does it keep appearing? In nature, traits that are purely disadvantageous tend to disappear across the generations. The fact that sensitivity persists suggests something else. It provides value. And the value is not always loud. In older human environments, different types of people served different roles. You needed the bold and aggressive, hunters, defenders, risk takers, but you also needed the aware and perceptive, pattern readers, early warning systems, advisors, healers, negotiators. A group full of only warriors runs into danger with confidence and no foresight. A group full of only sensitive advisors plans forever and never moves. Healthy tribes required balance. Your sensitivity is not a mistake. It's a role. You are built to detect what others miss. You pick up subtle risk. You notice when something is off. You sense tension before it becomes conflict. You can often predict outcomes based on small signals. That's why you may have felt different in modern life. Modern life rewards speed, bluntness, constant stimulation, and social armor. It's loud, it's fast, it's aggressive. This world is built for the hard-charging majority. So if you feel out of place, don't confuse that with being without value. Sometimes the environment is wrong for the instrument. The hidden cost of being a super sensor. Now let's talk like adults. This gift comes with a cost. If you process more, you tire faster. You reach your limit sooner in chaotic environments. You can't do constant social noise without paying for it later. You may need silence the way other people need sleep. And when you suddenly shut down, isolate, or disappear, people misunderstand it. They call you dramatic. They call you moody. They call you distant. But in many cases, what's happening is simple. Your system is overloaded. The world is full of men walking around overstimulated, under-recovered, and emotionally flooded, while pretending they're fine. A supersensor can't fake it forever. At some point, your body forces honesty. That's not failure. That's feedback. Your nervous system is telling you the same thing your muscles tell you in the gym. You can't lift heavy all day without rest. If you do, you tear something. The orchid and the dandelion. Stop trying to become what you're not. Here's a metaphor that explains your life better than any insult ever did. Some people are like dandelions. They can grow anywhere. Cracks in sidewalks, poor soil, chaotic conditions. They're resilient in almost any environment. But others are like orchids. Orchids can struggle in harsh environments. They can look fragile when conditions are wrong. But when placed in the right conditions, right light, right soil, right care, an orchid doesn't just survive. It becomes extraordinary. Many sensitive men spend their entire lives trying to become dandelions. They force themselves into harsh environments. They stay in loud, toxic social circles. They stay in relationships that drain them. They stay in jobs that punish their nervous system. And then they blame themselves for not thriving. But the right question isn't, how do I toughen up? The right question is, why am I living like an orchid in a parking lot? You don't need thicker skin as your primary strategy. You need better placement, better recovery, better boundaries, because your goal is not to numb out. Your goal is to become regulated. A regulated, sensitive man is dangerous in the best way. He sees clearly, feels deeply, and acts deliberately. The difference between sensitivity and weakness. Let's clarify this because men need it spelled out. Weakness is being controlled by your emotions. Sensitivity is being aware of them. Weakness is collapsing under discomfort. Sensitivity is noticing discomfort early. Weakness is needing everyone to handle you gently. Sensitivity is handling yourself intelligently. A sensitive man who is trained becomes stable, perceptive, and grounded. A sensitive man who is untrained becomes anxious, overextended, and reactive. So the mission is not to become less sensitive. The mission is to become more skilled. The training plan for a super sensor. If I could hand you a prescription, it wouldn't be stop feeling. It would be protect the gift, strengthen the frame. Here are the upgrades you need. 1. Build boundaries that match your nervous system. If you're a super sensor, boundaries are not optional. They're maintenance. That means you stop explaining yourself to people who benefit from misunderstanding you. You reduce time with chronic complainers and chaotic personalities. You limit exposure to environments that overstimulate you for no reason. You stop overcommitting socially to prove you're normal. A boundary is not a speech. A boundary is behavior. It's leaving early. It's saying no. It's not replying immediately. It's choosing calm over being liked. 2. Stop mistaking stimulation for connection. Many sensitive men get addicted to intensity without realizing it. They mistake drama for depth. They mistake anxiety for chemistry. They mistake emotional spikes for love. But intensity is not intimacy. Intimacy is safety, honesty, and consistency. If your nervous system has been trained by chaos, calm can feel boring at first. That doesn't mean calm is wrong. It means your system is detoxing. 3. Create recovery rituals, like your life depends on it. A high processing system needs daily decompression, not occasionally, daily. That can look like silence without screens training that grounds your body time alone. Without guilt, breath work, or walks with no music, journaling to empty mental loops, sunlight, and sleep discipline. Most men wait until they're burnt out to recover. A super sensor can't afford that. You recover on schedule, like a professional. 4. Learn emotional hygiene. If you absorb other people's moods, you need hygiene. The way you need physical hygiene. Ask yourself, is this emotion mine? Did this start after I entered this room? Am I carrying someone else's tension right now? What happens in my body when I'm around this person? Then act accordingly. Your job is not to be everyone's emotional sponge. Your job is to stay clean. 5. Turn your sensitivity into competence. Here's where your life changes. Sensitivity becomes power when it is paired with competence. Use your depth of processing to build something, master a craft, build a business, develop a skill, stack, create art, lead teams with emotional intelligence. Become the man who can read a room and still stay calm inside it. A lot of men have feelings. Few men can translate feelings into action, structure, and discipline. That's your advantage if you train it. The social problem: people will still misunderstand you. Even if you do everything right, some people will still say, "You're too sensitive." Here's what they usually mean: you notice what I avoid. You feel what I suppress. You don't numb yourself the way I do. Some people only feel safe around numbness because numbness demands nothing. Your sensitivity can make other people uncomfortable because it mirrors what they've buried. So don't keep trying to win approval from people who want you smaller. Instead, build a life where your sensitivity is an asset, not a liability. Choose environments that reward nuance. Choose friendships that respect depth. Choose relationships that don't punish honesty. Choose work that values perception, strategy, and emotional intelligence. Stop fighting your nature. Direct it. What to do when you feel overwhelmed. Let's get practical because this matters in real time. When you feel overwhelmed, don't shame yourself. Do a quick system check. Input. What am I taking in right now? Noise, conflict, screens, social pressure. Fuel. Did I sleep? Eat properly? Train recently? Emotion. What am I actually feeling? Fear, sadness, anger, overstimulation? Boundary. What do I need to remove, reduce, or delay? Reset. What calms my nervous system in under 20 minutes? Then take action. A super sensor doesn't power through overload. He regulates, he resets, he returns. That's discipline. The confidence most men never develop. Here's the ultimate upgrade for a sensitive man. You stop needing the world to understand you. Because when you understand yourself, misunderstanding becomes tolerable. You don't argue with people who don't have the range to see you. You don't perform toughness for approval. You don't apologize for depth. You become quiet, steady, and intentional. And that kind of confidence is rare. Not loud confidence, not social dominance, not arrogance, inner confidence. The kind that comes from knowing your operating system and living in alignment with it. That's what makes a man unshakable. The final truth: you don't have a defect. You have a nervous system that picks up more. That means you have responsibilities. Protect your peace. Choose your environments. Recover on schedule. Build boundaries without guilt. Turn depth into competence. Stop trying to become numb. The world has enough numb men. It doesn't need you to be harder. It needs you to be clear. Because in a culture that rewards distraction and shallow noise, a man who can feel deeply and still stand steady is a rare kind of strength. So the next time someone tells you you're too sensitive, don't argue. Just remember the truth. You're not weak. You're high resolution. And once you learn how to live like it, you won't just survive. You'll outperform the men who spent their whole lives trying not to feel anything at all. If you're the kind of person who stays quiet online, watching everything, rarely posting, staying invisible, it might not be insecurity. It might be intelligence. It might be self protection. And if you want to understand the psychology of digital silence, the difference between quiet confidence and hidden anxiety, and why stepping back from constant stimulation can be the healthiest move a super sensor makes, click the next video.